Good evening and welcome to the Marcellus Central School District Board of Education meeting Monday, June 17th, 2024. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are some seats over here. If anybody in the back wants to sit down.
This evening, we'll start with recognition.
Yes. So I wanted to first recognize our Marcellus Athletic Department, the entire athletic department. If you did not know, we had an incredibly successful athletic season from the fall all the way through spring. And this picture is a picture of our seniors at the sports banquet. Our Marcellus Boosters Club every year put on a sports banquet for our senior athletes. And this says it all. Just incredible, again, our athletes, but also just the support from the community and parents. Thank you so much. And way to go, Mustangs. It really was a great year for Mustangs, and how proud you made all of us in your representation. The next recognition, I just want to give a shout out to Tyler Cooper and Zach Aniasello, as well as Brian Seavey. Last week, they hosted a independent studies night, and we had, Brian, what is the total number of independent study students? 26 students that presented their work publicly, and this is just a picture. It was an incredible night. The depth at which our students are studying topics of interest is extraordinary. And we are just so proud to have that, in Marcellus as well. I often get phone calls from other districts because they see on social media some of the work that we're doing with independent studies, and they say, how are you doing that? What are you doing? And I often link them up with Tyler Cooper and Mr. Seavey, so kudos. And then this is our high school jazz band and select chorus. They had a competition last week at Darien Lake. Our band came in, our jazz band came in first place. The select chorus came in third. And our own Garrett Eady won a soloist competition. So congratulations to them. And then I do want to just, this is something that probably not a lot of people know. I attended the OCM BOCES CTE graduation last week, and these are all of our students that are in career and technical programs at BOCES, and they graduated last week. Some from welding, from early childhood education, from vehicle repair. So there are so many programs that our students participate in, and it was just a wonderful evening to celebrate. Here's Hunter Sabiniak, who got his graduation certificate in welding, and that was taking place at the fairgrounds. Again, we just honored our retirees, and tonight the following candidates will receive tenure. Teachers: Caitlin Eaton, Allison Fragnito, Jessica Long, Megan Newhouse, Adriana Peretta, Andrew Wiley, and our teaching assistants: Erin Clare, Karen Kraft, Alicia Sidoris, Brandon Syke, and Stacy Sperling. And again, congratulations to our retirees: Shannon Famano, Brenda Henderson, Keith Kleinhans, Lori Nat Pincus, Sue Larison, Lorraine Reynolds, Tom Shea, Shelley Stepien, Nancy Vanderven, and Eileen DeCenzio. And so, if you did not know, Kelly Rossiter is here tonight, and she is ending her term as a board member. And so we just want to pay tribute. And I do believe there are some families that snuck in tonight for both Kelly and Mike. We are grateful that you're here tonight because you have sacrificed so that Kelly and Mike could be here, helping move along the business of the district. So we are grateful that you're here and we appreciate all that you have done through the years while they were here as board members. So I just want to say a couple things about Kelly. If you don't know Kelly, Kelly has a heart of gold. She seeks joy and positivity. I can always rely on Kelly to just say, hey, just want to make sure you're aware of this and you know this. Sometimes just making sure that we're attuned to a student or students. One of the things that Kelly also always does that I so appreciate, she's like, have you thought about this? What about this? And I really appreciate that because it sort of pushes your thinking and does make you think about maybe something could be done differently or improved. So Kelly, we are going to miss you. Your service to this board and this district has been incredible. And we are so grateful. And here is just a little token of our appreciation. And so Mike McCullough, Mike is a tenacious advocate for students and the district. Mike is never afraid to ask the tough questions and he makes us all better for it. One of the things that Mike often says is, what if this was your child? What would you want for your child? He always is that advocate for kids. And the final story that I just want to say, because it's emblazoned in my head, and I hate to bring up the word COVID, but in March of 2020, all the administrators came into the district. This was right after they shut down basically Onondaga County. And we all came in on a Sunday and Mike McCullough was shoulder to shoulder with the administrative team. And I think we all were sort of in a daze and scared and worried. And he was our champion that day. And he said, if anybody can figure this out, you guys can figure this out. And so I will never forget that because that support just made us all buoy up and realize we got this. Not only do we have this, but we are charged with making sure that we carry forward for our students and for our families. And so Mike, thank you so much. This is just a little token of our appreciation. And that's it for recognition.
Okay, and certainly Kelly and Mike, thank you so much for your commitment to our district and your leadership and your service. We are so grateful to have worked with you. Thank you. And so at this time, we'll move on to presentations.
Okay, and so I am gonna pass this off to Brian Seavey, who he is the one that is now in charge of Seal of Bioliteracy, and he will start us off.
Yeah, so this year we had 17 phenomenal students apply for and get granted the Seal of Bioliteracy, which is a state designation that gets awarded at graduation. That essentially is a testament to exactly what it sounds like, a Seal of Biliteracy. So these students here are proficient, obviously, in their native language of English, but then have demonstrated proficiency in a second language, in this case, either Spanish or French. I had the true honor and privilege to go watch them all. It's a pretty scary environment where the kids have to get up and have like a 10 to 15 minute presentation in front of a group of world language teachers from across the area. Some of which, I think some of our teachers, some of them are just other professionals from the area. But for a 17, 18-year-old kid, it's a terrifying experience. And these kids rose to that challenge. They came up and delivered remarkable presentations. And I truly don't want to oversell what's going on here. They are some of the most impressive presentations I've seen in high school. if they were in English. And the fact that these are happening in a second language for these students is absolutely outstanding. I couldn't be more proud of all of those students. So what we have tonight is a presentation of awards. Again, these are graduation seals, and they're all gonna don this Seal of Biliteracy medal at graduation in addition to their cap gown and honor sports. So I'm gonna ask the world language teachers here to come up and present the awards, and then afterwards, we're actually gonna showcase with a little bit of a treat here, and give you a small little 4 or 5 minute snapshot of a French presentation and a Spanish presentation. So here we have Madame Cuello and Senor Antil.
I'm just gonna add that we are so proud of these kids because we know how hard it is to do this presentation in another language to strangers. And I don't usually brag, but the Marcellus kids are just amazing. Spanish, French, they just shine. They shine because we judge all the other schools. And they just really shine. And we're so proud of you. And I've had my French kids for 3 years, and the first year I taught them, I didn't even know what their faces looked like because they had masks. And you know how hard it is to teach language when someone has a mask. So we're very proud of you. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna talk, but, I do wanna echo what Madame Claire was saying. I am so proud of this crew. I just started having, I had them last year and then I got them this year. And just the growth that I got to see with them from last year to this year was just amazing. Every challenge I threw at them, they just rose and they just surpassed any expectation I had. And all in all, at the end, they were throwing in these phrases. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, where did you get this? Or, well, I've been listening, or, we watched it in the show, or, whatever. It's just, this crew is really, really awesome. I'm gonna miss you guys next year. Congratulations.
And before we celebrate the kids, one last little plug just for our amazing teachers, not only these two, but the rest of our world language department. I will point out that at the presentation day, I was at the WCNY building out in Syracuse. And, Marcellus isn't the biggest school in our, local network of school districts. We didn't have the highest number of participants, but it was a product of that we are a smaller school, smaller than the CNSs and the Liverpools of the world. We had the highest participation or successful participation rate in all of Onondaga County, which is a true testament to the great work that happens in our world language department.
I think we're also one of the only schools where everything we send has. So, okay, when I say, this is not an alphabetical list, I'm just gonna look. If you can come up, and I'm gonna put this on around your neck, it's very royal. So, Soleil Ciano. And Peter Fikes. So paste. Grace Cheney. No, and also Cam Sadler, who couldn't be here tonight.
I'm gonna start in the background. Celia Matthews. Next up, we have Bella Mandela. Next up, we have Jillian O'Connell. Next up, we have Jim Strickler. Next up is Andrew McCaffrey. Next up is Brendan Goldsworthy. Next up is Addison Moses. Next up is Logan Michelle. Next we have Madeline Booth. I have three left. I have Alex Strongbow, Luke Spencer, and Raji.
And then before we invite Addie, you ready? So Addie Moses is going to come up and do a little snapshot of her presentation. Before we do, I do want to just give one more shout out to also Mrs. Heather Arcese. I drew the short straw tonight on actually getting up and talking in front of y'all. But Heather has been side by side from day one here along the process, facilitating some of the back end pieces of the Seal by Literacy. So thank you to Heather, because none of this great work happens without her either.
Hola, me llamo Addison Moses y hoy yo hablaré de los efectos de aprender un nuevo idioma. Elegí este tema porque tengo un interés en general en aprender los idiomas y quiero saber qué son los beneficios aparte de lo que sabio que puedo comunicarme con más personas. Para empezar, hay algunas conexiones culturales que podemos hacer entre los Estados Unidos y el resto del mundo. En los Estados Unidos, español es el idioma con el número segundo más grande de hablantes nativos y el caso es el mismo por todo el mundo. Pero si estamos hablando de idiomas en los Estados Unidos, necesitamos hablar del hecho que americanos están detrás. Cada tiempo que tenemos un nuevo estudiante en mi escuela de un otro país, yo y todos de mis amigos estamos muy impresionados que ellos pueden hablar como 3 idiomas. Pero cuando vemos los números, no es sorprendente. 43% de personas en todo el mundo pueden hablar 2 idiomas o más. Pero en los Estados Unidos, este número es solo 21%. Para mí, es muy alarmante que el número por los Estados Unidos es menos de un media del número por todo el mundo. Pero, ¿qué podemos hacer para arreglar ese problema? Debemos empezar el enseñando de segundos idiomas en la escuela primaria. Pero, ¿por qué es importante? No es solo para alcanzar a nuestros vecinos, es también porque hay tantos beneficios para el mente, cerebro y vida. La primera es algo grande, con efectos en cada parte de la vida. Es neuroplasticidad. ¿Pero qué es? Neuroplasticidad es la habilidad del cerebro para reparar, reorganizar y cambiar. Pues si alguna tuviera una herida del cerebro como hemiplegia, como concusión, su neuroplasticidad podría salvarte. La segunda cosa que puede mejorar es la cantidad de la materia gris. Cuando una persona aprende un nuevo idioma, la materia gris se densifica. Pues si algo se llama denso, es realmente un completo. La materia gris es uno de los tejidos más importantes en el cuerpo, entonces está bien para tener más.
So before we transition to our French micro presentation here, my favorite part about the actual presentations that these kids do is at the end of their, and again, this is just like a little snapshot on Addie's full presentation, but at the end, they get grilled with questions in the target language from the professionals in the audience. So I won't ask anybody to speak Espanol, but does anybody have an English question for Addie? Put her right on the hot spot.
No, but that was awesome.
Logan, let her rip.
En esta edad de traducción. Pero, ¿cómo se puede justificar aprender un idioma nuevo en esta edad de traducción por la computadora?
Okay, I'm gonna answer in English this one. It's even easier these days to learn a new language, and this presentation talks about all the benefits. So one of my favorite ways in the age of the computer, is to watch shows in TV. Like Netflix has so many shows in Spanish that you wouldn't know about, and then also to listen to songs in Spanish or whatever language you want to learn.
Thank you. All right, Peter, take it away.
All right. L'histoire du jazz en France. Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Peter Fikes et je vais au lycée Marcellus. Je joue de la batterie et je produis de la musique. J'irai à Purchase College l'année prochaine. Et j'ai choisi ces sujets parce que j'aime le jazz et son histoire. Et je joue beaucoup de jazz dans les batteries. Pendant la Première Guerre mondiale, les États-Unis ont recruté les soldats afro-américains pour les combats dans la guerre. Et les soldats ont apporté la musique différente, compris le jazz. Et le jazz est devenu un symbole d'opposition contre le colonialisme. Et certains musiciens de jazz étaient appelés aux armes pour la guerre. En 1917, il y avait un homme, James Reese Europe, et il était un pionnier de jazz en New York et il a mené le 369e régiment d'infanterie. Et Europe et son orchestre ont popularisé le style de ragtime. Et ragtime est connu pour très optimiste et avoir beaucoup de syncope. Et I did play a video during my presentation of them playing, but I don't think I can play that. En 1934, Django Reinhardt a créé le Hot Club de France. Et pendant ce temps, les Allemands ont interdit la musique étrangère. Alors, Django Reinhardt et le Hot Club de France ont créé les programmes de radio pour envoyer des messages à Grande-Bretagne. Et les Allemands étaient très soupçonneux. Alors, oui. En 1939, avant et pendant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, le jazz est devenu plus populaire que jamais parce que le jazz était le dernier lien à la liberté en France. Et les Allemands étaient très peur. Pendant l'occupation nazie, le jazz est devenu moins populaire parce que les artistes ont vécu une double vie. Mais c'était un symbole de résistance contre les nazis parce qu'il avait des racines africaines et beaucoup d'artistes pendant l'occupation étaient juifs. Et le mot swing en anglais, which is a jazz term, était une connotation américaine. Alors, les artistes ont créé le mot zazu, qui a représenté la jeunesse et la liberté. Et quand les Juifs ont apporté l'étoile de David, les zazu manifestants ont apporté le mot zazu dans le meilleur des toits. Et il y avait un journal chasse aux zazu et qui a fait le zazu et le swing un symbole de résistance. Et savez-vous Jean Sablon? Have you guys ever heard of the musician Jean Sablon? He's a French jazz artist. C'était le faux nom de Louis Armstrong quand il était dans France pendant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. That's all I got.
You're not one for me. Very easy. Just got a question for Peter. Anybody?
I'm ready. think Louis has a question.
Okay, I'll ask you a question then. Who's the most famous French jazz singer?
When they present,
You
you
did-
can
yeah.
only ask questions related to the
Oh.
content knowledge they have.
I don't,
Oh, you
yeah.
know. I can be a part of the judges.
Pierre was a jazz singer?
Edith
Un
Piaf.
peu,
That's what he was saying.
well, a little bit.
Thank you so much, Abby and Peter. We appreciate that you presented tonight, and congratulations to all the sealed students. We are grateful of how incredibly well you always, year after year, represent us. So thank you. So I do want to just, oh, yeah.
Pause.
For a second.
It was.
All right. So I do want to just show a couple pictures of our career exploration and ag sciences building. You can see, as you probably drove in tonight, it is actually up and this is the exterior right now. They're still working on the exterior, but as this picture shows you there, also we have workers working on the interior as well. So we're expecting that it should be available probably September, I'm thinking.
Maybe October to be more conservative.
So we're hopeful September, October. But you know, as you can see, it has gone up very quickly, and they are working hand in hand with us as well as with Mr. Killian and Caitlin Eaton, just to make sure that if there are any questions on how things are going to be laid out, we have you know, them to turn to.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing how fast they
It is.
Incredible.
Okay, is that it for presentation? Okay, all right, moving on to item number 5, residents' comments. Public expression at Board of Education meetings is encouraged, and a specific portion of the agenda shall provide for this privilege. In most instances, the board shall reserve judgment regarding questions and concerns that are brought to the board's attention at a board meeting, as it is typically not prudent for the board to make instantaneous determinations. In addition, many issues that are brought to the board's attention do not require a formal determination by the board, but instead are most appropriately addressed by the superintendent of schools or persons designated by the superintendent without further board action in accordance with board policy 3220, community relations. Are there any residents' comments at this time? Nothing. Okay. Moving on to the business portion of the meeting. Item 6.1, approval of tenure instructional staff. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the tenure appointments of the following. You can see those listed there before you, and we recognized them earlier this evening as well. Can I have a motion? Mike?
Second.
Second, Catherine. Questions or comments about any of the tenure candidates? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 6.2, approval and adoption of employment agreement between Marcellus Central School District and Jean M. Charlo. Resolved that the Board of Education of the Marcellus Central School District hereby approves and adopts the employment agreement reflecting the terms and conditions of Jean M. Charlo's employment as the district superintendent of schools, and be it further resolved that the board authorizes its president to sign the employment agreement on the board's behalf. And be it further resolved that the district clerk is directed to maintain a copy of the employment agreement and a supplemental file to the minutes of this board meeting and to maintain the signed original of the employment agreement in Ms. Charlot's personnel file. Can I have a motion? Mike,
Second.
Kelly. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 6.3, approval of boys ice hockey combination with Syracuse Central School District. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the boys ice hockey athletic team combination between Marcellus Central School District and Syracuse City School District for the 24-25 school year. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Sean? Catherine, second. Questions or comments?
Will this, is this allowing our kids to play on the Syracuse City team, or are we combining the districts?
It really allows them to play on that team, although it is a combination of multiple districts. I think West Hill is part of Syracuse Cougars, and honestly, it's just a function that Syracuse City doesn't have enough players to field a team. So this has been going on for several years now, and we do have, although we had one skater player graduate, I think we have 2 or 3 students younger who play on this team.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 6.4, approval of varsity wrestling combination with Onondaga Central School District. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the varsity wrestling athletic team combination between Marcellus Central School District and Onondaga Central School District for the 2024-25 school year. Can I have a motion? Erica? Second, Sean. Questions or comments?
So Mike, to your question, this is, of Marcel's wrestling team, but Onondaga,
Plus.
they come to
Yeah.
us, and really it was because they reached out to us a few years ago. They did not have enough players to field a team, but they had some passionate wrestlers that
I
didn't,
remember.
they didn't want to sort of lose that experience.
Right.
So, Mike Free, made that available.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 6.5, approval of independent girls swimmers. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the Marcellus Independent Swim Team under the supervision of the Skaneateles Central School District for 2024-25 school year. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Catherine?
Second.
Second, Kelly. Questions or comments?
So I do
This is a
want
little
to,
bit
yeah,
different,
this is
correct?
different, yeah. So we do have 3 swimmers who are, and it's a Marcellus swim team, who go over to Skaneateles to use their facility. And the Skaneateles coach coaches our students during the regular season at no charge. We are able to just jump in and use their coach, and there's no fee. What you're gonna see a little bit later in personnel is a appointment or a fee for a swimming coach, the Skaneateles swimming coach, if our 3 swimmers go on past the regular season, because I'm hearing they likely will, and the Skaneateles ones may not. So we need to make sure that we have a coach available in case, and so we'll only pay that coach if our kids make it
If he's coaching
postseason.
our kids.
Our 3
Beyond the
kids,
regular
if
season.
they go postseason, we need to be able to pay a coach for that postseason. So you're gonna see that a little
What
bit
happens
later.
if the other kids do make it past the regular season?
That's a good question. I think what will happen is we'll probably figure out a fee together. So, I do know from Mike Free, he thinks that we definitely have some swimmers that will make it in the postseason. So obviously we want that opportunity for our kids.
So this is different than the previous 2
Yeah.
sports. So when these women are competing, they're competing Marcellus.
It's not like
Okay.
joint, right?
Mm.
City Atlas has their team and Marcellus has their team. And again, often the competitions are individual competitions. So
Mhm. Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 6.6, approval of payment in lieu of taxes agreement. Parcel number I'm sorry, 010.01-26.1. Resolved that the Board of Education approves a payment in lieu of taxes agreement with Rose Hill Road Solar LLC pursuant to real property tax law, section 487. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Mike? Erica? Questions or comments?
You just summed this up.
Yeah.
Yep. So, during budget season, you often probably hear the word pilot. And in fact, when you sort of go through the, tax cap levy formula, the pilots there's a line item for pilots. And so, there's a solar, company who is purchasing 2 parcels. And so we're separating these out just to make sure that it's formalized. And what the town does is they negotiate a fee instead of them paying taxes on an assessed amount. So the solar company will say, well, let's negotiate, we'll pay you, $3,500. Tony is gonna know the exact figure, $3,500, instead of you assessing the land and using a percentage to tax us. So it is payment in the lieu of taxes.
Tony, Gene said that the town negotiates. Do we have any stake in that negotiation?
We could have some stake in the negotiation. In all likelihood, this group went to the Onondaga County Industrial Development Agency. And that's in all likelihood where the negotiation occurred. They will often reach out to the school district and any other municipalities that are, that would represent or be impacted by that pilot. And we periodically receive those notifications. Honestly, we generally don't participate. In this case, this land would likely be tax exempt otherwise.
Oh.
Because it's producing energy.
Agriculture?
Yep. Well, yeah, it's because it's producing energy. So, in fact, I was just over here trying to approximate. It's about, it's $3,500 per megawatt is what they will receive. We actually receive 75% of that.
So if they wouldn't pay taxes on it normally, why would they enter into a pilot agreement?
Well, not all areas are all that fond of solar farms, so, I would imagine that's part of the negotiation is, we're gonna throw solar panels in this area of your community.
Do we ever know what the difference is between what the pilot agreement, what we receive in terms of the pilot agreement,
Mhm.
and what we would receive if the parcel was taxed?
We could find that out. So this particular parcel number, we would look up that tax map and look at what those taxes were. So I can, just to give you a sense, it takes, let's say it takes roughly 7 acres to produce 1 megawatt of energy. I believe that's per year. So 7 acres of land might be worth let's say $25,000, depending on where it is. So the taxes on that piece of land are roughly $500 a year. And so in this particular arrangement, if the property of that size, we theoretically should receive 7 times. Well, that's just school taxes. So we should receive 7, 8, about 5 times the amount of tax revenue that we would have likely received otherwise if it were just vacant land.
So is this on Rose Hill or is it just called?
Not sure, and not
Because I know
sure.
Rose Hill could be, is also Skaneateles district.
Right.
Too, right? So it's a district, it's not a county. It's our.
No, it's our revenue within our district in the town of Marcellus. Yeah, but, yeah, that's, I don't think this is an uncommon event when solar farms are constructed. And, yeah, and as I said, OSIDA, Onondaga County Industrial Development Agency, they're usually the folks that these groups would approach to negotiate Yeah.
Could we refuse a pilot agreement?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'd be surprised if we could, but I can find out.
What happened if we didn't approve it?
I don't know. I would guess that we just don't get the money. So. But I will find out the answer to this. And not a question that's ever been asked before. We have a sliver of a parcel currently in Marcellus that with the Tennessee pipeline, I believe was just a tiny little piece. Like $300 a year.
That's the only other pilot agreement.
It's the only other pilot that I know of, yes.
All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item 6.7, approval of payment in lieu of taxes agreement, parcel number 010.01-23.1. Resolved that the Board of Education approves a payment in lieu of taxes agreement with Rose Hill Road Solar LLC pursuant to real property tax law, section 487. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Mike,
Second.
second Kelly. So questions or comments?
Parcels 2 payments, correct.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 6.8, approval of new trade book adoption. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the adoption of the following trade books for the 2024-25 school year. I will read the titles and the authors. Starfish by Lisa Phipps, Crossover by Kwame Alexander, The Canyon's Edge by Dusty Bowling, Forget Me Not by Ellie Terry, House Arrest by K.A. Holt, Posted by John David Anderson, The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, Little Women by Mary Louise Elcott, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne, Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys, Heroes by Alan Gratz, Mouse, thank you, by Art Spiegelman, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, Code Talker by Joseph Burshak, The Giver by Louise Lowry, The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, Before the Ever After by Jacqueline Woodson, The Summer of My German Soldier by Betty Green. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Sean. Catherine, second. Questions or comments about any of those?
So I do want to, this is 7th and 8th grade, and one of the things that our 7th and 8th grade teachers do, they have a core text typically in the beginning of the year that all students read together. And then as they get a little bit further along in the year, in the first semester, they shift to what's called lit circles. And so it really is sort of that choice that kids get. They do book tasting, so they get sort of a preview of the different books. And then they get to choose which book they're interested in. And the teachers facilitate lit circles with students who selected that same book. So that's where they're just sort of looking to bring in some new trade books that are of high interest to students. And some other ones that you can see that are older, that are sort of coming back in interest.
And the term trade books, they'll be in the library?
No,
the EMS library?
They actually, they'll be basically in the English department book room.
Oh.
So available for our English teachers to use across the grade levels.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 6.9, second and final reading of Board of Education policy. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the second and final reading of the following board policy. 6213, probation and tenure. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Kelly? Erica? I know we discussed this at the last
Yeah,
meeting.
it's just making sure that we're, aligning with the law where teachers who are probationary have and have never received tenure before have a 4-year waiting period, and a teacher who has received tenure before has a 3-year waiting period. Quite honestly, the last meeting where we had the first reading of this, I probably should have advised saying first and final reading, because it's really just a simple change. We didn't really, but since we didn't make that clear last meeting, we put it on here for second and final.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 6.10, approval of transfer from unassigned fund balance to the district's existing capital reserve fund. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the transfer of $2,500,000 from unassigned fund balance to the district's existing capital reserve fund. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Mike, is that you, Catherine? All right, questions or comments? I know we talked about this at the last meeting. Does anybody have any other questions? Concern? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item number 7, personnel. I'm going to request that we vote separately. I'm going to pull 2 items out, item 7.4 and 7.1 to vote on separately. So at this time, we'll vote on items 7.1 through 7.3, 7.5 to 7.10, 7.12 to 7.15. We've got a lot on there today. Okay, so personnel, resolved that the Board of Education approves the following personnel items. You can see them all listed there before you. Can I have a motion?
Motion, John.
John. Is that you, Erica? Second, okay. Does anybody have any questions on those items?
I don't want anyone to panic about Bob Montgomery's resignation. So Bob has to formally resign, because as of July 1st, Lauren Massa will be taking over his position, and he'll be assuming the role of assistant superintendent, which has already been approved previously.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you.
And can you just read which ones you pulled out?
Okay, item 7.4. And item 7.11. So at this time, we'll be voting on all of the personnel items except for those 2. There's quite a few, so I'll give you a minute to look through.
Look, that so many of them came back for themselves.
Yeah. And when we look at our coaching staff for the fall, I don't think there's anyone new. And is there anybody new on the coaching staff?
There are a couple new coaches, and the one that I actually highlighted earlier, Jill King, is the
Okay.
Skinny Atlas swimming coach. The other ones are all from previous.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments about any of those items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So now at this time, we'll vote on items 7.4 and 7.11. All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain. Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay. All right, now moving on to item number 8, consent agenda. Resolved that the consent agenda consisting of the following items be approved. That's items 8.1 through 8.8. Any questions? I'm sorry, can I have a motion?
Motion.
Mike,
Second.
Sean. Questions or comments or concerns about any of those consent agenda items?
I do want to just point out the high school performance competition in Boston. That is Andy Wiley, our band teacher, as well as Brian Ackles, our chorus teacher. And the reason that you're seeing it now so early is it really helps them get a jump on just hotels and all of the arrangements. So they're looking for that approval now so that they can get organized.
That makes sense. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item number 9, information item.
So information items, I do want to just remind people that we did change the calendar Tuesday and Thursday. So that students UPK to 8 will have a half day on those days. Again, when I analyzed the just the heat index, it just felt like the right decision to make sure that we're protecting our students and our staff. And we just don't have enough spaces to provide relief in climate control areas. And then the other thing that I do want to mention is, and I've mentioned this previously, we have launched a school climate survey for students grades 5 through 12. And I have been sending communications out via Parent Square, so just parents are aware of that. And as well, if you look at our website and click on students, the climate survey is right there, the questions for parents to view. It is really intended to just get a sense of what students are experiencing on a daily basis, what parents are experiencing. Our administrative team will use that information over the summer in conjunction with our strategic plan to really make sure that we're making solid and effective plans to start the year out in a positive manner. The survey, just so people know, it is actually a US Department of Education survey. And so before COVID, when Every Student Succeeds Act came into place, it was a requirement. And Michelle and I actually were ready to launch the survey literally the month that COVID broke out. And then, you know, basically the state said, you don't have to do it. So, at any rate, we are now, launching it. And again, it is one of the recommendations, will soon be requirement for ESSA. And that's it.
Okay. Moving on to item number 10, executive session. Resolved that the meeting in public be adjourned and an executive session be convened for the purpose of discussion of personnel. Can I have a motion? Mike, Catherine, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will be entering executive session at 6:15.